Good day, and welcome to another 10-minute tech tip brought to you by Community Library. As we're probably all aware, we live in the age of information. Now there's information that's collected on us, the websites we visit, what we buy, what our interests are, and these are used by companies not limited to Google, Amazon, Best Buy, any website that you visit. There's information that is collected about us, and this is turned around and used to target advertisements, things that they think that you will be interested in or interested in purchasing. The other side of that coin is the information that we take in. We get information from all kinds of websites, from Pinterest to Facebook and to news sources. Now, as you're probably well aware, when information comes in from media, social media sources, they all have to be taken with a grain of salt. But when you're using like news outlets, you still have to look at what it is that you're reading, and this comes into media selection and then facts checking. In other words, how reliable are these sources can be. When receiving information, can we rely on it to be an accurate representation of the truth? Now, there are things that can be done to enhance that probability that what we're reading is accurate and can be relied upon. Now, when you're looking at sources, one of the things that you want to look at is how biased the source is. There's a correlation between the more biased a source is, the more of a chance that that source is trying to persuade you or to convince you that what they're saying is true, or they're trying to, I hate to say it, manipulate you into a certain way of thinking. The other thing to look at is the website's transparency. Who owns it? Who funds it? This is all information that you can use to decide about what you can use it to decide what you're looking at and how much you can rely on it. The other fact, of course, is the accuracy of the information. Has it been fact checked? Was it found to be accurate? Fake news sources will, well, to use that term, fake news, it usually means news that is proven to be false, but yet is still put out there like it's a reliable source. One of the ways that you can look at these types of issues is through actually a number of websites. One of the websites that can be used is called the All Sides Media. Now, All Sides Media has gone through, and you can see, speaking of transparency, down here at the bottom we have a statement that says All Sides Media bias ratings are based on multi-partisan scientific analysis And if you want to take a look at how they arrive at that, you can go to their website, allsides.com, and you can get that information. The way that this is set up, um, you have the center. Now, the center is the least biased and the most accurate as far as facts and facts checking. And you can see here that in the center we have the AP, Axios, BBC, Christian Science Monitor, NPR, News Only. That's important to point out. For when they're giving you the news, it is unbiased and or the least biased and the most accurate. But you can also see that NPR's opinions section is just a little to the left of the center, which means then that they are more apt to use language language that tends to be biased, and it'll be biased a little to the left of center. And it's the same thing is for the Wall Street Journal. Their news only is unbiased and highly accurate, but then their opinion tends to be a little to the right of center. Now, of course, the more you get to the away from the center, the stronger the language will be. It'll have a lot of trigger words, words that are meant to elicit an emotional response, and by doing that, then they are more influencing how you will react to the article. And also their accuracy might be very good, but they have a bias, in this case on this side to the left, and over here we have the bias would be way to the right. And actually other websites will add a column on either side of these, far left or far right, and they label that as extreme. And the extreme, they tend to be extremely biased, and they tend to be highly inaccurate. The All Sides Media Bias Chart, this is kind of, I mean, there are a lot of news sources that are center, and there are a lot of news sources that are a little left or a little right of center. But media bias, All Sides puts the center just to give you an idea of probably the most popular ones. I know that there's one other one that actually is rated higher than AP, and it's called Politico. So, but this tends to be not real. It tells you where they are on the bias chart, but it doesn't tell you how much. It doesn't give any values for this. But somebody has come up and started an interactive chart using the information from All Sides, and it's called the Interactive Media Bias Chart, and it was created by Vanessa Otero, and you can find it at the website here at the bottom. And the home page, the chart looks like this. Now it's rather confusing because they put in banners for probably the ones that are searched the most, but you can zoom in and zoom out, and we'll see what that's like in our next slide. So this is the open screen for the interactive media bias chart. You can see the banners for probably the most popular or most sought after news sources. But if we were to shut this off, you'll see that the screen is divided up into 4 areas. The ones, the, the news sources that fall within the green square are going to be the most reliable for news, or highly accurate, and probably the further as they move from the center line will indicate their how much bias they have. What falls within this yellow square are going to be news sources that they're reliable for their news, but they're going to have more analysis, more opinion as to the content of that news. What falls in this U shape are going to be news sources that have some reliability issues and or extremism, and then the news sources that fall within this orange box are going to have some serious reliability issues and or extremism. Now if we go back to the original with all of our news sources added, each one of these dots is a news source, and you can see here it'll give you the name, and this one is Before It's News. It gives you their the URL for their website, and then it'll give you the reliability. In this case it's 18.68, and a number for the bias. Now if the bias is a negative number, it means it's going to be left of center. If it's a positive number, it'll be right of center. And so in this case we see that it is 7.33. It's a little bit hard to analyze the bias number, but what you can do is you can compare, okay, Reuters, you can see has a bias of a negative 2.57, so it's going to be less left than the Before It's the News website. You can use your scroll wheel to scroll in or out so that you can get a better view of what all of these banners are. You can see on the left hand side here that their accuracy ranges from 0 to 64. So the most accurate, let's go back to Reuters, oops, not that one, I want Reuters. You can see the reliability, or which is a aspect of accuracy for Reuters, is 50.99, which is very high. The other filter that you have is the range of the bias, and you can see the bias goes from negative 42 to positive 42. So if we come over here back to Reuters, you can see that their bias is a negative 2.57, which puts it pretty close to center. Now you can go to Allsides Media or allsides.com, and you can find out how they arrive at these numbers, because like I say, they're very rather confusing just by themselves. But you can use this as a tool to, if you come across something on Facebook and you see that it was put out by, you know, the Wall Street Journal, you can look at it and you can say, well, reliability is 48.37. That's pretty high. Their bias is a little to the right, 4.85, and it can give you an idea of how reliable the information you're getting is. Now, there's another website, Media Bias Fact Check, and we'll probably have to do that next month because I think I'm going over the time limit. But it gets more into analysis about how they come up with the decisions that they do about certain I think they have over 3,500 news outlets that they have investigated and rated. So I hope that this is of some help for you, and I hope that I will see you next month. Have a good day. Bye-bye.